DK Metcalf wants a trade, and Seattle is willing to play ball and entertain the idea. So you have the components involved of a trade. You have a player that a team is most definitely willing to give an offer that the Seahawks can't refuse. That's component number one. Number two, you have a fractured relationship between team and player, or at least a agreed upon divide. That component is also present. Therefore, the likelihood of DK Metcalf getting traded is extremely high. I'd have to say to the 80% variety. And what does that mean for our boy? What does that mean for our boy JSN? I mean, it means he's going to Saturn, right?
The Saturn Men.
One small step for man, one giant leap for Saturn.
So, buckle up, Buttercups, the Fantasy Football Show, the JSN Show, the JSN Ascension Show, the DK Metcalf Goes Up in Value Show. Not for sure yet, but we're feeling probably here, at least on this channel, about 80% likely this is going to happen. New England? Is it Pittsburgh? Is it the Denver Broncos? Is it the Buffalo Bills? Is it the Chargers? The Green Bay Packers? These three teams at the bottom have been rumored to be the most likely by a few sources, but I say don't count these out. Don't count out the Raiders, who have Pete Carroll over in LV. Maybe Pete Carroll wants to bring DK Metcalf in, and they go grab Shedeur Sanders possibly, and they've got Brock Bowers, DK, and Shedeur. I've already given this blueprint to a lot of people. When they ask me, how do you turn a team around? DK Metcalf via trade, draft Cam Ward. You have, this player, that player. Like New England Patriots, Drake May, DK Metcalf, figure out a way to draft Ashton Genty, and boom, you have yourself a tripod. Tripods win leagues. Tripods rule the world. The Fantasy Football Show begins right now.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios.
It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live!
Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
So you probably won't hear a lot of Raider potential buzz or talk, but I'm going to put them right here. So these teams are probably the most likely. I'd say even the Ravens. Even if you don't hear Ravens talk right now, Ravens are probably very, very likely to be in the mix too. So I'm going to put all these teams on the board here. We'll move them around like that so that there doesn't look like any sort of favoritism going on here. This is kind of just what it feels like. There it goes. Nice balance. Look at all those teams that are potentially interested in acquiring this mammoth of a man, this absolute monster, this touchdown getting machine, this tall drink of water that's just waiting for his quarterback to sling him the football to the tune of 10 to 12 touchdowns per season.
Let him cook.
DK Metcalf value goes
Stock on the rise.
almost anywhere he moves. Unless he goes to Pittsburgh, which I don't like that situation because then he's sharing, touches already where he is now. We don't want him just going to a similar location. Baltimore's kind of iffy. The only reason I think Baltimore could be decent more than we ever expect is just because of his touchdown potential. His catch radius, the ability for him to kind of replace Mark Andrews in a way. He's almost like a tight end. So there might be a world where Lamar Jackson can produce a top 20 wide receiver for the very first time. I would actually be a pretty decent advocate of the Baltimore Raven landing spot, and I bet you none of you would have projected that. It's a decent spot. It's not my favorite. It's just if it happens, it's okay. Denver could be great. Buffalo, amazing. New England, very solid because of the target share. Raiders, probably good. We hope they land a quarterback. I think Pete Carroll would have to have a strong conversation about, hey, Shedeur's coming in. Hey, we're bringing in Darnold. Hey, we're bringing in Fields to make him feel comfortable with that. The Chargers, I don't know. I'd say that's one that I don't like as much of the teams on board. I think he's probably better off with Herbert as a number 2 or sharing the number 1 role than he is with Geno sharing or the number 2 role in Seattle. So Chargers are an upgrade. Green Bay would be an upgrade. big target. This guy pretty much gets 10 touchdowns wherever he goes, except for maybe Pittsburgh, because it just doesn't feel like that kind of environment conducive to a man of his skill set, with Pickens in the way, with the head case Pickens in the way. That's the only spot I don't like, is this one right here. And seems like a lot of players want to go there to Pittsburgh. They hear about winning. Oh, the record. Oh, Tomlin, he's such a good coach. Like they just hear it, they regurgitate it. They don't really understand it. So DK Metcalf, and here's the actual official report that we can read over together. Seahawks, according to Ian Rappaport, Seahawks star DK Metcalf has requested a trade from the Seattle Seahawks, and the team has decided to explore it. Per Tom Pelissero, there is likely a significant interest in the Seattle wide receiver, and both sides will dig into it. A big-time wide receiver who may be on the move. I'm telling you, as much as I've been saying, I've got a sneaky suspicion in my bones. I go up to the hill and request the vision about what I believe to happen. And I came down the hill the other day and I said the Giants are trading up for Cam Ward. The Giants are going after the number 1 pick. And going up the hill, I'm telling you, coming back down, I had a premonition that he is on the move. 80% chance. And we've talked about this, and there's a reason why this man's sitting on the Saturn Man list. There's a reason why no show is higher on JSN than this show. No show is higher on JSN than this guy.
The Saturn Men.
One small step for man.
No one.
One giant leap for Saturn.
February 12, we dropped him on the Saturn Man list after we've talked him up for an entire offseason. And on the bold prediction board above my head, you will see the JSN top 4 wide receiver bold prediction that's been sitting up there for the entirety of February. So we're here to discuss what the ramifications are of a trade in a place like Seattle, or a place like Pittsburgh. We're here to discuss the upside of different locations. No matter what, JSN goes to the moon. Geno Smith seems to be the Seattle Seahawks quarterback for whatever reason. I don't know why. They think he's got it. But this is still good for JSN. Like, getting rid of DK is probably going to be, pretty solid for his target share, even with Geno. So do I want a better quarterback for JSN? Yeah, his future will be even brighter than it is right now in terms of consistency. I just think he can produce a top 4 season. At least top, 5 to 7 wide receiver seasons in the cards this year. But I think, explosion is in order for JSN. JSN.
Let him cook.
JSN to the moon. Let's take some phone calls. Let's jump right into this. We have the 8 p.m. show coming up today. In just several hours here. Let's see how long. A little less than 2.5 hours. We'll have the 8 p.m. show. So we got a whole bunch of other news to cover. I'll hit all those topics at 8 p.m. Those aren't as pressing as this conversation. So if you want to dial in and discuss DK Metcalf, the phone lines are open. Dial in. Call
into the show. Call into the show.
DK to the Chiefs, not as likely. I mean, is it out of the realm of possibility? No, but the Chiefs have one of the best wide receiver rooms in the National Football League already, my boy. I don't know that that's where they're gonna probably focus. If you ask me, it's gonna be offensive line. They're already making trades, and that Tooney trade earlier today, like a lot of the Bears fans have been thinking they're coming for my neck, and they're like, Smitty, how do you feel now? Like, Tooney's turning 33 and got exposed in the Super Bowl, and I believe he was outside the top 20 overall ranked offensive lineman from the entire 2024 season. Like, everybody acting like this is a lock that he's, KC's got a whole lot more that they've got to take care of and figure out. So, all right, so hit me with the questions. Dial into the show. Do it live. Hit me up. Go. Boom, boom, boom.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Got some kids screaming in the background. Doing it live. Midday random live stream at the Casa de Smitty. As real as it gets, baby. Yeah, Chiefs, I don't know where that... Come on, bro. 075, you must be a Chief fan. Thinking that that's the most likely landing spot. His Super Bowl film is rough. It is, bro. Everybody acting like this Tooney trade is putting Caleb... First of all, I don't know if people know. I don't think people know. If you're a Bears fan, you think, like, Bears fans think they get me every day. They come in and go, Smitty, how do you... Look, first of all, I'm 1-0 against you, Bear fans. I am 1-0 against everybody that came from my neck when I said Caleb wouldn't be as good as you all think he's going to be. The Bears season isn't going to be as good as you all think it's going to be. I'm 1-0. You are 0-1. Okay? So don't come in here and act like you have something at all to brag about with Caleb. You don't. But the other thing, too, though, is when people come and they start saying, oh, you're... Look, the Bears offensive line. What does everybody think the Bears offensive line was ranked last year? Across several different people's rankings. You know, we're talking about PFF and all that. What do people think the Bears offensive line was ranked last year? I bet you most people are going to say last. They were top 10. The Bears pass blocking offensive line was ranked and graded on the entirety of the 2024 season, which is not measured by sacks. It's measured by a lot of other factors. And the quarterback's responsibility is in play too, that you don't necessarily hold the offensive line back. What does everybody think the Bears offensive line was ranked? Pass blocking, number 8. The number 8 pass blocking offensive line according to PFF last year. And Caleb was the most sacked quarterback in the league. You tell me where the problem is. You tell me where the problem is. This is wild to me. The Caleb believers are just, it's just wild. As far as my ranking my favorite landing spots, let's rank my favorite landing spots. Let's call this, don't forget to watch this video. It's on my Dynasty channel. Dynasty link is in the description of the video. Go follow. Go do it. I know. When you have the 8th best ranked pass blocking offensive line and you're the most sacked quarterback in the NFL, what does that tell you? He's holding on to the ball. He can only play off schedule. He can only play outside of the pocket. That is the problem. It has nothing to do with the offensive line, even though everyone thinks it has to do with the offensive line. Okay, so my ranking for these landing spots probably going to be I'm going to go number 1. This is tough. I'd have to say, man, New England's so good just because there's a vacancy of targets, and Drake May is underrated, and even if they're playing from behind it, it really is a great spot. I'm going to say New England's the top spot for DK. Drake May's a good player, and I think it just gives us the most fantasy production. So I'm ranking from a fantasy perspective. I'm going to say New England is number 1. I'm going to say Buffalo is number 2. There's some concerns about how Cooper didn't mesh well, the fact that they're spreading the ball around. But the thing we got to keep in mind and remember is that Diggs and Josh Allen had a laser lock connection in the past. Josh Allen is capable of this type of football. So I don't think we can just sit here and act like Buffalo's, no matter what, a spread it around, Green Bay Packer wide receiver situation from here on out. I think we do have to keep in mind that it depends on the type of receiver that Josh Allen has. And you can make an argument that these are nearly tied. So I'd say almost tier break in terms of location. Of these spots right here, if we go, let's go over and just make sure we're not missing a place I think could pop up as a landing spot for DK. Houston, we got to throw Houston on here. Houston, we got Baltimore, we got Cleveland, right? Did I put Cleveland on here? Cleveland might be in the mix. The Jets no, Titans no. Let's see, Saints no. San Francisco, you never know, but I don't think so. They got to get rid of money. They can't take on. I would say, man, Washington still. I'm gonna put Washington. Man, can you imagine if Adam Peters gets both Debo and DK Metcalf and McLaurin? I don't think it's gonna happen, but like they should be on the list. We won't put them on, but man, that would be good. Dallas is in the cards, but they've said they're gonna be selectively aggressive. They've been opening up a lot of money, so I want to put Dallas. I'm gonna put Dallas on the board. I don't know that they're as likely. So Houston, Dallas, and I think the Cardinals have been very, very interested in a wide receiver, but that's interdivision. I don't know how likely that would be. LA, the Rams could be a team that maybe pokes around. The Carolina Panthers could be. There's a lot of teams that could be, but I think for the most part, Houston and Dallas, I'm going to throw on the board. So hold on 1 second, Thomas. Just hang tight. If you can mute for me real quick, I'm going to come right back for you in a second. We're gonna put Houston and what did I say? Houston and Cleveland. I'm not gonna put them on here. Let me see if I can find some logos to drag on here to represent these teams. Mute, Thomas. When I said mute yourself, I mean like actually mute yourself, not pretend mute. We can hear you scrambling around. Thank you. Let's see. Washington. We said we'd think about, but that's just more of a pipe dream situation. What was the other team I said? Dallas. So we're going to go Dallas. We're going to go Houston. Okay. So I think they need to be considered. They're definitely in the mix for a wide receiver. So Buffalo, we've got Green Bay might be next, I guess. Green Bay, Houston. Houston, he'd be the 2. In Green Bay, he'd be the 1. In Dallas, he'd be the 2. In LA, LA Chargers, he'd be tied for the 1. I don't think I think they score about the same. Denver, Judy's looking pretty good, Sutton's looking pretty good. So Sutton's probably, I don't know. I wouldn't say Sutton and I wouldn't say Sutton's gonna hold DK off from being the 1, but it's gonna be like a 1A and 1B. Pittsburgh, he's a 2. Baltimore, I mean, I think he's the 1 over Flowers, but it's a crowded environment, but I think he gets 10 scores. So I'm going to go ahead and say, I don't know if I'm going to rank all these. I'm just going to say Green Bay. It is like a mini tier break. Green Bay. I don't know. You guys tell me who you think the next team up needs to be. Go ahead, Thomas. You're live.
Hey, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm good, bro.
Yeah, I would think, as a Packers fan, I would love him to come to Green Bay.
Of course you would.
But knowing Gutekunst, he loves to hold on to those picks. So I don't know if he's going to give him like a second, maybe a third or a fourth. But then they have to give him a new contract. I think he'll be a 1 year. And with, Christian Watson being out for in the middle of the year, and a lot of these guys are not like outside fast receivers like DK can give the Packers. I just think that he would be the best there, but then you said the Chargers, that's another team that could probably use a wide receiver like him, so it's going to be a competition for him for that. But overall, if he comes to Green Bay, I love it. I think it'll be a perfect fit for the Packers. They need an outside receiver that can really move the ball down the field.
He's like a year and some change, or you could call it just 2 years younger than Debo. So you think back 2 years ago, Debo's getting like a second at least, So I think like a second or a third for sure. This isn't the same thing as Debo.
One more tidbit for you to really clear. Gutekunst was talking about when he was drafting. They drafted Jenkins in 2019 draft. He did bring up he wanted to look at Debo and DK. So he did like DK.
Yeah, so Gutekunst is he's a good GM. I think there's a lot of reason to think that they're going to know what to do. They're going to do the right thing. They need to bring in a 1, bro. They need to bring in a 1. I think that as much as like the Cardinals were thought to be, they're never going to draft a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr. They're going to trade down. And while they didn't use him properly, the Cardinals, everybody turns a page at some point. So
Absolutely.
I think that there's a possibility that the Pack go after DK here. Because you think about it, it's like, even if it costs you a second, which I don't know if it will. I'm not really sure what the market's going to be if he's 28 years old. He turns 29, I believe. And Ziggy, how old is DK Metcalf? I'm just trying to get his birthday.
DK Metcalf is
December?
27 years old
27?
and was born on December 14th, 1997.
So December 14th, he turns 28. I don't know if that probably commands a second rounder, but I mean, it depends on the supply and demand, of it. If DK Metcalf becomes available and then we start comparing him against Adams, who's, free to sign. I mean, you're going to pay the contract, but Godwin. Yeah, I mean, these guys are free agents, so you don't have to give up the draft capital. And I assume DK is going to want an extension along with a trade or some sort of, So it costs you more to get DK, but the truth is, let's go back in time and say we're the Washington Commanders and we didn't already acquire Debo. It's worth draft capital and the contract to get a 27-year-old wide receiver that can do it for 3-4 more years, 4 or 5 more years, you could say, but 3 to 4 more years for sure, with JD5, maturing and developing. I've got the balls and cojones, bro, to go get DK and Debo with McLaurin for my JD5. I've got the balls for that. I think Peters does too. Peters got the balls. I don't know. No pause intended. No pause intended. I think he's the kind of guy that could think about that. Now, probably doesn't happen. And Peters is a very, very, he loves his draft picks more than Gutekunst, bro. So Adam Peters, I don't know that he's going to do anything else, and they feel very, very good about where they're at wide receiver wise. But I just, these teams are crazy if they don't see DK Metcalf as a 10 to 12 touchdown machine coming into any one of these locations. Even the place that I tell you they never produce top 20 wide receivers in Baltimore. Guess what? I kind of like DK there because his catch radius is so amazing. His touchdown catch radius. This is a refrigerator that you just sit in the end zone, and it reminds me a lot of Andrews in his prime in terms of the vision I have for the touchdown production between Lamar and DK. I think that this might replace Andrews, who's aging out right now, and he's kind of a tight end in a way. And I really think that he could get 12 touchdowns, 11 touchdowns, 14 touchdowns in Baltimore. So even if his yardage is down, this might be the first top 20 wide receiver that Lamar Jackson ever produces. I'm actually pretty much on board the Baltimore Ravens landing spot. It's weird. I know. You probably know and probably guessed that out of me. Because I'm always saying no. Raiders is good, of course. Pete Carroll probably wants him back, but at the same time, we don't know who's quarterbacking yet, and I don't know that that's a place. Think of it this way. He's been granted permission to seek out a trade. He's the one going around right now. I'm not saying that another party can't pick up the phone and go, hey, let's talk around DK. That certainly, is possible, but for the most part right now, DK is the one initiating the trading partner options right now. So is he going to go to a place without a quarterback? Maybe because of Pete, but I don't know. I think he's, what I believe is the most attractive landing spot out of all these landing spots, time and time again, it's going to be the Baltimore Ravens. Not only do players respect Derrick Henry, respect Lamar Jackson, respect the underdog mentality over there that they have to have because people just continuously say Lamar's going to fail. They're just an underdog. Like, this is where I think a lot of players will gravitate toward. In the coming days, and as we head into free agency and we start talking about these free agents, this is where I think a lot of players will want to go. So DK Metcalf might probe the Baltimore Ravens, and given the Baltimore Ravens fell short yet again, even with Derrick Henry, even with the addition of Derrick Henry to balance out the offense, I still think they might be interested and intrigued by this. Let's take another step forward. But your Green Bay Packers, my boy, are definitely one of the better options. As I said, I rank them right around third. I think Baltimore, again, shocking, I know, is kind of around this territory for me.
But I won't be surprised. It's a lot of more competition out there to get DK. That's more demand. So I'm not, I won't be too sad if they don't get him. But just at least be in conversation. I'll be happy with that.
Well, there's competition, bro, but not it's Adams and Godwin. That's it.
Yeah, I mean,
I
would love them to get Adams too, but I just don't know if they're gonna. I mean, hope he's that too high demanding.
Welcome back. I don't know if he might. Some receivers like going back home.
Yeah.
I don't know, but Godwin. The problem is, no offense, we might want to put your earmuffs on this one. The Green Bay Packers shit the bed last year, bro.
I can go ahead. I can say go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I mean, like walking into last year, they were an attractive up and coming team. That feel. I'm not saying they aren't. I'm not saying they can't rebound. You definitely have a team, but I don't know that there's the feel out of it. A player can go anywhere he wants. That he's like, I'm going to play with Jordan Love. Look what he did last year. It's like, oh my God, it kind of was a bed crapping, season. So it's going to be hard to pull the top free agent wide receiver. It'll be decent because if you guys throw money at him, that is one thing that could get it done. But if the money's all equal, it's going to be hard competing with teams like Josh Allen can take you to a Super Bowl. Right now, the Green Bay Packers don't feel that way. They did a year ago. Be a part of something growing, and I don't know, man. If all things are equal, if the money's all equal, if everything seems the same, Baltimore, championship caliber team ready to rumble. Buffalo, championship caliber team ready to rumble. Harbaugh, you at least know this guy knows how to win and is possible. Dallas Cowboys, people can make fun of them, but they get DK Metcalf. I'm sorry, but they're a contender. You can say whatever you want to me. I don't care. I'm my own show. I can do whatever. I can say whatever I want. I don't need anybody's approval. If the Dallas Cowboys get DK Metcalf, they're a contender. I'm not saying they win, but they're a contender. They're a top 4 to 6 overall team in the National Football League. Will they crumble? Will Dak Prescott throw it away at the end? Yeah, but he could. But Dak Prescott throwing to and I'm not saying it's good for CeeDee Lamb. I don't know how much I would like this for CeeDee Lamb at all. But Dak Prescott with DK Metcalf, and let's say they still drafted Ashton Genty or Scattaboo or Henderson or Hampton or Judkins in round 2. This is a dangerous team. And every bit of, the defense is not as good right now, that partially gets fixed by the offense getting fixed. I hate when people don't understand what time it is when it comes to certain collapses on one side of the ball versus the other, and they act like, the offensive line's so bad over here. It's so bad. Like last year they played like crap. Well, what did the offense look like? Because if the offense is bad, the defense is going to get tired, and then everyone judges the offensive line when the defense is bad. It's like, you bring in a quarterback or you bring in some piece to stretch the field, offensive line production goes up immediately. This is what I told people when they said there's no way JD5 is going to have a successful rookie season to the tune that you're predicting, Smitty. And I said, you're wrong. JD5 and the Commanders are the best landing spot a quarterback could go to. Everybody kept saying Caleb's going to the best spot a rookie quarterback's ever been handed. And I said, no, Washington is. Do you know how many people came to me and said, Smitty, they don't have the offensive line for it? My answer was, when you have a quarterback like JD5, your offensive line gets better instantly. You instantly have a almost 100% turnaround in production in your offensive line when you have a mobile quarterback that's going to make this offensive line see different defensive schemes than they'd ever see if they didn't have JD. JD5 was an instant cure for the offensive line. They didn't even need to, they did do a lot to it, but they didn't need to do anything to it, and it would have doubled in production. That's what people don't understand about the National Football League. And when you add major weapons and pieces to a team, you add DK Metcalf to the Cowboys, the offensive line goes up tremendously. The production, everything goes up in Dallas. Everything except for CeeDee Lamb stats, maybe. Everything. The defense gets better with DK Metcalf stretching the field and putting the defense in better field position. It's all a trickle effect, a cascade effect. It's wild to me that people don't understand that. And when JD5 was handed his bad offensive line, and I said, they're going to be an amazing offensive line. Number one, Kingsbury's going to make it so. Number two, Kingsbury's attack and offense is going to stretch the defense, making it a different scheme that you're going to face game in and game out, play in and play out to begin with. And having to spy JD5 with his accuracy, there's no more offensive line problems at all in Washington, period. They're the best landing spot a quarterback could have found. JD5 had the best landing spot a quarterback's ever been given, mixed with his skill set, mixed with what was handed to him. But where are those people now? Where are all those crybabies now that came in here screaming and yelling about my JD5 take all last offseason? I'll tell you where. They're either pretending they're on this side of the fence and they're just slipped in and put on a different shirt and they're just sitting in here and we have no idea they're them. Or they vanished because they couldn't deal with the shame. Thomas, anything else, my guy?
Just thanks for letting me come on, and I'll just see what happens with this 6 days left until the free agency come on. Can't wait for it.
All right, bro. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, can't wait. If I'm Washington, I'm trying to do this move. I'm going to put him on here. I don't care what anybody thinks. Is it a likely scenario? No. So understand when I throw the Washington Commanders on here, I'm not suggesting it's very likely. Should they be on here though? Yes, they should. Might they be kind of out of the game now? Probably because of Debo and the contract, but they should be in the mix. They should. And Adam Peters probably is kicking it around like the amazing GM that he is. But the likelihood of a team getting him, it does feel like it, in my opinion, would be the desperate Buffalo Bills. But are they smart enough? Like, do they know? The Green Bay Packers, are they smart enough to know that this is needed and required? Are the Houston Texans savvy enough to convince him to come be the number 2 on their team versus being number 1? Can they pay him enough? And the Texans would be far better off with DK Metcalf, and Stroud would go up in value a ton. Can the Dallas Cowboys spend some money? They've been freeing up a lot of money. Dak Prescott reconstructing his contract. There's a lot going on there in Dallas to free up money. They have said, Jerry has said himself, they're going to get selectively aggressive in free agency. So maybe this is their one move, which would be an unbelievable move by Jerry. And if you take Genty or Hampton or Judkins in the draft on top of DK Metcalf, this is a contender. No matter how much you're a Dallas hater, and if you think that Dallas with DK and Genty especially, but Dallas and Judkins, Dallas and Trevion Henderson, Dallas and anybody in this draft class that's a top 5, Scadaboo would be a great example. Let's use Scadaboo. Scadaboo and DK. If you don't think that changes the trajectory of the Dallas Cowboys 2025 season to the tune of being not only a playoff team, but a threat, a major threat in the NFC. If you don't think that is the case, then you're just blindly a hater of the Dallas Cowboys. Just blindly a hater. That's it. You have no argument whatsoever. Oh, but the Dallas Cowboys always fold. Do they always fold with Scadaboo and DK? Do you have evidence of that? No, you don't. So think what you want, but is Jerry smart enough? I don't know. All I do know is there's a man with a plan, a man that his name rhymes with pen, and his name is JSN.
The Saturn Men.
One small step for man.
He's
one
going.
Giant leap for Saturn.
To Jupiter.
He might be going to Jupiter because his stock is extremely on the rise, even with just little old Geno Smith throwing him the football. Imagine if JSN gets an upgrade at some point in the next, year and a half, 2 years. Imagine if they draft like Milroe anyway, and then we'll feel real confident about the Milroe Geno situation much more than we do the Geno situation. Imagine if they Ayuk for Niner fans. Ayuk for DK. You wish, bro. Hey, will you take this flat tire for that 19-inch monster tire? Will you trade? I'll trade you my lukewarm ham sandwich that's not even cut. Or no, it is cut. It's not cut triangle. It's cut that square way. that no one that you did when you were in third grade. You know, is cutting rectangles. I'll give you this ham sandwich cut in rectangle fashion for that steak, mashed potato, and loaded baked potato and salad meal you got there, pal. I uke for Metcalf. Oh, bro. All right, phone lines are open. Somebody dialed in and then they just hung up. Dial in. Phone lines are open.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
What? This IU that's been stuck in my throat for that DK sandwich. Yeah, not happening. Packers, Steelers, and Bills are best for DK, maybe. Steelers are always in the mix, but then it never ends up happening. What's up, Mars Man Rock Out?
Yeah, you think the Bills will actually be smart enough to try to get DK?
I mean, that's what we just talked about. Rock Out, you're funny lately. You ask me, you keep asking me questions that we just went over. I think, I mean, yeah, man, I think that they got to be thinking about it, you know, but I don't know. I don't know how smart they really are, Rock Out. I feel like they constantly, we know what the blueprint is, but they don't want to follow it. You know, I think going after Amari Cooper was an interesting move, you know, and it was a nice attempt to try and fix what I think they were scared to address or unable to fully commit to, you know, spending money, trading for somebody, doing something aggressive. And honestly, like, I don't know about you, Rock Out, but didn't you think that Amari Cooper at the time could have been a really good move? Like, I did. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like Amari Cooper looked like trash when he moved to the Buffalo Bills. Can anybody in here literally with a straight face say, oh, I knew Amari Cooper was going to look like nothing when he got there? No, he scored a touchdown his first game, didn't even know what route to run. But, you know, part of us, and you might feel the same way, Rock Out, is I'm not sure that the Broncos, you know, fully know how to use a wide receiver as a number one. But, like I said...
what's going on, brother? I was talking about the Commanders from a little bit earlier. You were talking about...
Bro, call back if you... Hold on, I'm in the middle of speaking. Call back in again, but I'll put you on hold. It's kind of like, you know... It's kind of like you got to think, you know, is there a way that Josh Allen can get back to laser locking on a one? And I think that if you're going to throw a Cooper in, he's not really that guy. Cooper needs the ball a certain way. You know, I guess I look at Cooper the same way that I look at Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown, when Ben Roethlisberger was injured, Antonio Brown vanished. He was not even a top 10 wide receiver. And that's fact. Like, he would go from not being a top 1 to 5 wide receiver. He'd drop off the face of the earth for a handful of weeks. It's almost as bad as the like Tyreek Hill situation with Tua gone, and it was that bad with. So you have a wide receiver in Amari Cooper that feels a little bit more like that. DK feels more like a Randy Moss in a way. You know, like not saying he has Randy Moss's upside or anything like that. I'm just saying where it's like that doesn't really matter. Like, you're throwing the ball up to him. He's a completely different receiver. So could Josh Allen figure out a way to get DK Metcalf? Like, if Randy Moss was on the roster, Randy Moss, no matter what, Josh Allen would connect with Randy Moss in a tremendous fashion. And again, I'm not comparing anybody that's typing this right now. You're not listening to what I'm saying. He's not Randy Moss. I'm just saying he has the presence and the type of style that makes any quarterback able to connect with him. It's just a different type of receiver. So I do think Buffalo would be a great spot for him, as I've ranked right here. I don't think it's a bad spot at all. It's in my top 2 before the tier break. I think Green Bay's more questionable. Baltimore, I actually quietly like, even though I've said Baltimore does not produce top 20 wide receiver.
Denver.
Denver, put Denver 5, I guess, or he's tied for a bunch of them. But Buffalo, I to answer your question, Rockout, it is a good question. I was just messing with you.
Yeah, I know.
I think that Buffalo is probably teeter-tottering on rinsing and repeating their failed attempt to get a receiver because they failed again. Like, the pressure's on. They got to be considering this. If they aren't, then, I don't know, someone might be on the hot seat. You know, if they fail again this year, someone might need to come in and say, you know what, we need somebody that's going to do what Adam Peters is doing. We need to do something that Howie Roseman's doing. We need to figure out how to get in that, type of bag. And I'm not saying at the GM level necessarily. I don't know where it would occur. The change would occur. Could be at a head coaching level. Could be at a bowl. I don't know. We'll see. But someone's not doing their job because the Buffalo Bills have the capability of winning a Super Bowl. Josh Allen has the capability of winning a Super Bowl, and he's almost doing it by himself. And if anybody thinks that James Cook is this top 5 running back, he's not. His situation is so good with Josh Allen that he, good runner, but you could have put Ray Davis in there, and Ray Davis would have had just as many touchdowns as James Cook. I'm sorry. You can get offended if you want. That's why James Cook doesn't deserve $15 million a year or whatever the hell he's going to be asking for now that Saquon Barkley stretched that running back market up. But if you're Buffalo and you're watching Howie Roseman get all the accolades, you're watching Adam Peters get showered with your amazing comments and accolades, I think maybe Buffalo, from top to bottom, the front office, the brass, everyone involved is probably going, let's do something. This is a second round pick. Let's take a gamble. So I think Buffalo, to answer your question, ultimately, they're capable of doing this. Do I think that they're the lead candidate? No, but do I think they're the top 3 or 4 teams looking at this? Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
That other caller can call back in. I only hung up on you because I was in the middle of a rant and you just started talking. So call back in. Rockout agrees. Call back in. Benji with a $2 holler. What are you paying for JSN in a 1 QB dynasty right now? 3rd round value. Don't put the cart before the horse, bro. Don't overpay to the point where now he has to be wide receiver 4 for you to get your value back. But he's going in round 3, and I love it. I don't want to overpay or push him into a different territory. In terms of a rookie pick, if that's what we're talking about, if you threw JSN, and I'm going to have on the Dynasty channel and the redraft, this isn't a redraft channel. This is the main channel. It's redraft Dynasty. It's everything. But I'm going to have a segment called I don't know what I'm going to exactly title it, but if he was in the rookie draft, where would you rank him? So this is a perfect question. If you threw JSN into the rookie draft, where would I rank him? I'd have to say we're going with Genty 1, obviously. We're going with maybe Hampton, or it's Henderson, or it's one of the running backs. And probably Tet McMillan. But could I put JSN above Tet McMillan? So I'd say 1.3 to 1.4 with a strong debate. So at the end of the day, I'd probably take JSN over Tet. Because you don't know where Tet's going. You don't know if Tet's going to... not only do you have to have Tet have a great spot, but you also have to have Tet McMillan be the real deal. So I would say 1.3. I put JSN right behind the 2 running backs. I could even argue he's 1.2. Okay, what else you got, Rockout? Thank you, Benji. Good question. And that segment's coming. Get ready for it. I'll remind myself too.
Yeah, let's say if Cowboys actually get all those players you pointed out, what would you rank the NFC East as a division?
If who gets who? If DK goes where?
To Dallas, and then they get Genty and such and such.
God, that's such a tough division, bro. Look at it.
It's always a new winner.
And if Cam Ward goes in New York, like this is the strongest. This is at the root level, the strongest division in the National Football League.
Yeah,
by far. Like it's not even a debate. By far, the joke of the Dallas Cowboys that everybody makes fun of all the time is still a strong team in the regular season. And if these New York Giants get Cam Ward, this is the strongest division by far. Let's see here. You sound like a dumb like this YouTuber. Well, Bob says, Bob, you don't have to be here.
Go back to account.
Yeah, Bob. I mean, I don't want you here if you don't want to be here. You know nothing about the Seahawks, let alone their NFC. Who's he talking to me? Bob says, you must be a Seahawks hater. I think he's talking to somebody else, but then he says, what's he say? Then Bob says, Bob, you talking to me? Bob, I'll let you answer. Bob, are you talking to me? Because Bob, you don't have to be here. I'd hate for you to be here if you don't want to be here, Bob. We can boot you right out and make it a lot easier on you. Know nothing about the Seahawks. What did he say? He said something about. I don't know. Does Bob need to go, Travis? Let me know. Bob, you don't need to be here. But yeah, this NFC, I mean, bro, this NFC. If I'm ranked, you got to give the Eagles their credit and put them one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Bob said something about don't know anything like this YouTuber. I think he's talking about me. Hey, Bob! Bob, how did I get here then, Bob? I'm lost. Did I stumble upon my own channel? Did I stumble upon 32,000 followers because I don't know what I'm doing, Bob? I'm sorry, Bob. Hey, Bob, I think one of the mods put you in timeout. When you're back, let me know if you're talking to me. Let's see what you think. Let's see what you really say. Let's see what happens when you're questioned. Most times people are like, no, we're not talking to you, Smitty. I would say Washington second, and then Dallas third, and New York Giants obviously fourth. But, bro, this division's through the roof. All right, phone lines are open, guys. Dial in.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Can we all give Travis and the mods, Sick Nasty, Blackbeard, Space Ricky, Terry Roberts, Kenny Powers, who am I missing? The Bolt. Who else am I missing? I always leave someone out. Can we give them all a standing ovation real quickly just for all the nonsense they got to put up with in the chat day in and day out? Some of you guys, Kingslayer says, hey, Snotty, thoughts on the Bears shoring up their O-line? I addressed that at the beginning of the show, so you might want to replay for my my analysis on what you think I'm going to come in and say is great. Standing ovation for our mods who deal with a bunch of nonsense. And some of you that come in and say, oh, you know, you're just agreeing with Smitty, or, oh, I can't believe, mod put me in timeout. Like, what? Do you know how much nonsense they got to deal with day in and day out? And sometimes they might make a mistake. I mean, sometimes they might make a mistake, just like I might be making a mistake about Bob. Maybe Bob's not talking about me, but he says something about you don't know anything like this YouTuber, which I think he's referring to me, but I make mistakes. Maybe Bob's talking about somebody else. Maybe he is. That's why I'm going to give Bob a chance when he comes back from timeout. But let's give the mods a round of applause. Whoa.
Mashed potatoes!
See, I make mistakes. Hit the wrong button. All right, we got a phone caller here. Sean from Idaho. Somebody else called and then they hung up because I took too long. I'm sorry about that. But Sean from Idaho, you're live.
Might have been me.
What's up, Sean?
What's up? What do you think about the DK trade from like a Seahawks perspective and Seahawks fantasy perspective, both like real football and fantasy football perspective?
I can't be good. It's good for JSN production. It's good to lean on the run a little more. It gives Walker, Sharps, and JSN more opportunities. So, from look at Neighbors. Neighbors was on a bad team but played awesome. BT was on a bad team but played awesome. Chuba Hubbard was on a team that started to come around, but like they're Carolina was a struggling team and they're trying to find their way. Chuba did awesome. So there's definitely room to be awesome on a team that's, you're worried about where they're headed and, what direction, who's the quarterback, what's the future look like. So it doesn't really knock. It only makes JSN go up, because the target share is there. But do I want it to be a better long-term environment for JSN? Yeah, but that could quietly happen overnight, in this season. We might just think, it looks bleak right now, but what if they draft Milroe? What if they get crazy and trade for Joe Milton and we don't know it? What if they don't like Geno as much as we think, and they, like they said, they draft somebody, they take Dart, they take Milroe. They get aggressive.
I think 2026 lines up for the year that they're going to draft a quarterback.
Maybe.
They might have.
It might be the case, but then you're also running the risk of you think you're going to be in the mix for a quarterback and you're just never going to have a shot, and you have a shot now, take it. I think every team that needs a quarterback right now, they should be getting uber aggressive with the Titans right now, because the Titans are, I believe, on a quiet mission to be convinced out of the number 1 overall pick. I think they're very, very vulnerable. And
yeah, I agree.
These teams are sitting on their hands, bro. Let me twiddle my thumbs and let's play real cautiously. Let's be cautious Caleb's about it. If I'm the Seattle Seahawks, I'm saying, give me that pick. The Seahawks, as you can see, let me lift this above everything else so you can see the draft order. They draft 18. You still have an 18 overall pick. You're going to have to surrender a first rounder and probably something else to get this 18 up to 1. But you do it. You say, Tennessee, you can't win right now. Let's give you so much draft capital that everyone's going to say you're going to suck this year. But you did good, Tennessee. You did good. Let's take the pressure off you, too. A lot of these GMs and coaches and teams that have been whiffing hardcore, sometimes there's nothing better than taking the pressure off and going, let's lower that bar. You're not going to win this year, but what a great accumulation of picks. Let's build something from the ground up. We couldn't have won anyway. There's definitely a vulnerable situation here for every team has the chance to go get this. This is not an untouchable pick. This is not like the Giants sitting at number 1 and everyone's like, we can't get it. They're not going to let go of that pick no matter what. They're just not. Or if, let's say, the Raiders were sitting at 1, they're not going to let go of the 1 overall. There's not. Tennessee is barely holding on to it, and it's who's going to come in with the strongest offer and say, give me that damn pick. And if I'm Seattle, I don't move DK Metcalf. If I'm Seattle, I sit down with DK, which they did, and instead of saying, here's our plan, DK, let's extend you, okay? Let's make a real team-friendly extension, set it up. We're gonna move up and get aggressive, go get Cam Ward, give us some time. But no, they probably sat down and go, Geno's our guy. We love Geno Smith. He's our guy. And you want to go look somewhere else? Sure. Go ahead. That's what Seattle's doing. Seattle doesn't know what they're doing. This is not the way you operate a team. If it were me, I'd get Cam Ward. I'd have DK Metcalf. I'd have JSN. I'd have Walker and Charbonnet. And I'd be untouchable. I would be a team to be reckoned with. I would be a team that could win the NFC West.
I just don't think it's viable for them to trade up from 18 to 1.
Why?
I think the Giants make the most sense. I think that they're going to be willing to give up whatever they can. Explain what you just said, though. What do you mean doesn't mean viable? I'm not saying the Giants don't make the most sense. The Giants are my prediction to trade up to the number 1. The Giants are the ones that are going to probably get Cam Ward. They've got a great pick to throw back, 2, 3. But why does it not make sense? If you give up an 18, a future first rounder, an additional pick, I don't know that it has to be another first rounder. I think it would have to be another first round.
Well, if it was, you do what you got to do to get a quarter. You don't need anything else.
No,
as much as
I
you
would
need.
be a fan of trading up to get the first pick. I just don't think it's viable. I think it would have to. If I had to guess on what the package would be to go from 18 to 1, it would be like 3 1s and maybe DK.
Well, I don't. You can't do that. You can't give. If you do this trade, if you give up, let's say 3 1s total. Let's say it's Seattle's 18, 2 future first rounders for the number 1 overall pick, and essentially you're moving the 1 pick down, and there's 2 additional first rounders. So it's 2 first rounders and then a move up or a move down.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
That is enough to get it done. But the question will be, will the Giants outdo that because they have the 3 pick? Maybe. So, but I don't think it's not viable. I think it's viable. I think all these teams need to get overly aggressive. And if you have to mortgage your future, you're not mortgaging your entire future. You're mortgaging your first round draft capital. And if you're doing it for Cam Ward and you've got JSN and DK, Walker and Charbonnet, you're set up. You don't need anything. All you got to do is fix your defense, shore up the offensive line, which a lot of it you can coach up, especially with these weapons. You're going to have a better offensive line with the addition of Cam Ward alone, like I mentioned earlier. This would be the move to make. Every team, and I'm not disagreeing with you that the Giants offer, if they offer the right package, will look better. I think it will look better. But these teams are sitting on their hands, bro. They're sitting on their hands. The Miami Dolphins are idiots for thinking that Tua is the answer. The Colts are ridiculous and not very smart right now. I don't think they're a very smart organization right now. I just don't think highly of the Indianapolis Colts because they allowed, regardless of who's making the decision, the Colts as a whole are responsible. The ownership, the GM. For AR5 to be benched as early as he was benched and given up on, we don't even know what kind of damage that did to him. And not to mention, you clearly don't believe in him. So why don't you make a bold move? And maybe they will. Maybe they'll prove that what I'm saying they believe in too, but it's wild to me. And then you got and everybody that rips on the Falcons for doing what they did, at least they did something that they believed in. And they went and drafted, even though they made a $100 million guaranteed contract and wrote it up and handed it to Kirk Cousins, they still said, I don't care what anybody says. We want to have a contingency plan because without it, we're nothing. With it, we win championships potentially. And how funny is it? Who's laughing right now? I don't know anybody that's laughing right now at the Falcons because they made a stupid move and they double dipped on quarterback. Look at them. They have a tremendous future. They safeguarded their future by making a reckless spending decision. So these teams that don't do that are going to get left behind. These careful Caleb GMs and owners, they're just throwing it all away. The Jets sitting there at 7, the Raiders sitting there at 6. If these teams don't move up, they're punting the 2025 and 2026 seasons. If you're not trying to get that 1 pick aggressively from a vulnerable Tennessee Titans team, and you're the Raiders and you're the Jets, what in the hell are you doing? Tyrod Taylor? I like Aaron Glenn a lot, but he better figure something out. He's sitting at 7. He's this close. The Raiders are this close to doing exactly what they did last year, which is punt the season away.
Yeah, the other thing is, I think in this class, there's a big fall off from Ward to like Dart and Sanders. Like, I'm not a Sanders believer at all. And I think Dart is like, okay, but I think there's a huge gap between those two.
Well, that's why Ward is so valuable. And I do think Sanders in the right spot actually could be really good. I think in New York with Dable, he'll be fine. He goes somewhere like... He goes somewhere.
With the Jets, it would be a disaster.
Yeah, he goes to the Jets, and the Jets are just going to do what they've done time and time again. Like, the Jets they're very vulnerable.
And I think the Jets, I think that could be a logical spot for Sanders in terms of positioning. I could see them taking a chance.
Yeah, if he falls there. Gregory, I disagree with your AR5's a quitter. I don't agree with that at all. You know what his coaching staff should have done? Called a timeout and supported him in that moment. Like what AR5 did when you really look at it is he felt like he was going to hold his team back. And honestly, you work with them on that, and you say, "Hey, bro, call timeout in that situation. Don't act like there's a helmet issue. Like, don't come off the field. Like, this is a learning decision for him. You don't even know how many times that a player might have tried this, and the coaching staff covered it up because it's a bad look. This is on the staff. This is on the staff. I don't think it's on AR5. AR5 is the first guy. He sprints to the tunnel, dude, turns around and gives a high five to every single player every time they go in at halftime. Don't act like AR5's a quitter, Gregory. It's a bad look. Anyway, phone lines are open. Shane, call back, or Sean, call back if you got another one, bro. Appreciate you.
All right, thank you.
Rock out. You got anything else?
Yeah, with the Myles Garrett situation, you think he's actually going to get traded or just no-go?
Well, right now, I don't think he wants to, or he wants out, and I don't think the Browns have a single. This is what I said. When the Myles Garrett trade rumors kicked off, the first thing I said on my live stream was, just because a player wants it doesn't mean they're getting it. It takes a lot of fracturing. It takes a lot of fracturing. Why am I yelling at you, Gregory? I'm not yelling at you, Gregory. This is my resting face, bro. I'm not upset at you. You know, was your grandpa ever tough on you? Like, just because I'm speaking in a very stern voice about a topic, not you, not your personality, not who you are. I'm just saying, when you say AR5 equals quitter, I don't think that's a fair assessment. I think his team, his coaching staff, they're the ones that need to be canned. And as much as I love Shane Steichen and what he can do for a quarterback, like I've said before, Ben Johnson's amazing for a running attack and a great offensive coordinator, but is he going to be a good head coach? Not necessarily. So maybe Shane Steichen is not good head coaching material yet. I don't know. I know he's great for quarterbacks in terms of sculpting them, but is he great making decisions that he's fully in charge of? I don't know, bro. He benched him. So Shane Steichen might not be a good head coach.
Maybe.
What else we got, Rock Out?
That's it. I was like, is it gonna be like a big holdout where he's trying to force his way and all that? And
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think they're ready to move him. I think they're waiting for this relationship to get a lot more fractured. Again, from the jump, I said, could he be traded? Sure, but are the Browns just gonna fold and say, "Oh, you want out? Oh, you're such a good player. Let's just give it to him." Like Cooper Kupp, I want to be traded. Okay. You know, DK Metcalf, they're not even using him properly. I want to be traded. Okay. They met with him first, but they're like, fine. You know, go see. Matthew Stafford, I want to go somewhere else. Okay, he's been a problem. You know, his wife's a problem. He's a problem. He's year to year anyway, so we're not fully committed to him. Yeah, go ahead and check it out. Myles Garrett. Hey, Cleveland, you want to be without Myles Garrett? No. He wants a trade. Well, don't let him. Don't let him out of the building. Like, that's going to be the approach. And I'm not saying that he can't fracture the relationship. Call the owner names. You know, hit on his wife. There's all kinds of ways he could fracture this thing, but it's going to take a lot of fracturing before they start flexing and saying, you know what, this is going to break. Let's go ahead and let's see what we could get for him. But no promises. Brucey, you're live.
Hey, Smitty.
Yeah.
I may have missed it, so I might have to take a left. But where would you put DK with this free agency, knowing it's going to have to be a trade, but where would you rank him with them guys?
Oh, number one by far. Yeah, over Adams and over yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Because I'm trying to think about it. Maybe I'm a little more of a dimwit, but I'm like, okay, he wants a trade, so now should I go after Adams, who's a free agent, or should I or should I go and try and get
if let me put it this
DK
way.
Metcalf?
If DK were on this free agent board, which he's not, but that's what Bruce's hypothetical question was. If he was on this board, he would be the number one overall, everybody. He'd be the number one player to go sign. And then it would be, it's kind of a tie between Godwin and Adams. It depends what you're trying to do and accomplish. If you're the Buffalo Bills, you could get away with Adams. If you're the Washington Commanders and you didn't have Debo already, you want Godwin over Adams because you're trying to build something for the long term as well. Not that the Bills aren't, but, it's definitely, something that it could go. You could go either way on, but DK would by far and away be the best option. Now, do I think that the Debo Samuel trade would have happened if DK Metcalf, the falling out would have happened sooner? I don't know, man. I think DK Metcalf, I think Adam Peters, because him and I think very much alike, I believe. I think he would be very intrigued by this opportunity, and I still think he is, which is why I have the Commanders on the board here. Probably not likely, but I think it should be mentioned. It needs to be on the board. Just because everyone thinks, oh, they wouldn't do it again. Why? Look at the Eagles. They got Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. I mean, that's a unit right there. And then they got Hurts, So who's to say that this team wouldn't try and, quad pot up as well and have McLaurin, Debo, who's gonna get old and fall off, and you could almost say he's a wide back, like he could almost be a running back / wide receiver, and then you have McLaurin and DK Metcalf. Like, who's stopping that team? So wait, before you say, oh, that's ridiculous, they just got Debo, why would they do that? Never spend that money. If I handed that team to the Washington Commanders, who here is gonna diarrhea their pants at the thought of facing that team? You will. So therefore, it's actually a good move. That's the test. Would I diarrhea my pants? Yes. Then maybe that's a good move. Go ahead, Bruce. What else you got?
What do you think of Marvin Harrison this year? What do you think he's going to be? Is he going to be like a letdown? Or is he going to bounce back?
Smitty, stop. They aren't spending. Are you not listening to anything I said, Gregory? I don't think Gregory listens. I just told you probably not happening. But at the end of the day, would it be a good move? You aren't listening, Gregory. Gregory. Think about your actions. Sorry, go ahead, Bruce. Say it one more time.
What do you think on, I know we like Brian Thomas. What do you think of Marvin Harrison this year?
Oh, yeah, Marvin.
What do you think he's going to be?
I think he's a untapped, well-oiled machine that could be a top 5 wide receiver lock for the next 10 years in this league, that we have no idea if they're going to try and full throttle this kid on the racetrack next year. We have no clue. They could drive him 70%. They could drive him 50% speed all year long. It's unfortunate we don't know. It sucks. Kyler's not making it any easier. I do think that you come out of this season using him or you're all fired. So long term, it'll be okay. Hopefully that doesn't stunt his growth too much. But at the end of the day, you look at what Marv did. And even though it wasn't what we wanted, it was still, it's still pretty decent season when you really think about it. It wasn't the worst season ever. This is the kind of year that usually receivers don't take 3 years anymore. That was back in Dez Bryant days, whereas 30-year breakout wide receiver, now you can be BT year 1. But this is still a pretty good year. 62, 885, and 8. 8 touchdowns is still really solid. It's tied for 13th in the National Football League. It's just, and there were 2 or 3 or 4 other situations where he would have had a touchdown if Kyler would have just looked in this direction, let alone thrown it. but he doesn't drop anything. He's the hardest working wide receiver in the room, no matter where he goes, no matter what field he's on. I think things can only get better for him, obviously. But I'd say like 80 receptions, 1,100 plus yards, and 10 touchdowns is his floor, and that's pretty good. So I love him, man. I'm not giving up on him. He's a good buy low, especially if you can get him in Dynasty in the third round territory, because he still has top 10 overall upside. He really does. Not top 10 wide receiver, top 10 overall upside. But there's enough risk that you want to get him as your third drafted player or whatever.
I had to get your opinions because I just got offered a trade in Dynasty for him.
Yeah.
Let me hear your thoughts on this. So I would give up my 3.1, but I would get him back.
3.1. What is it? What is the? Say it again.
It's a 3.1 for Harrison.
3.1.
Kind of in a rebuilding mode.
3.1 what though, Brucey?
Rookie pick.
For Marvin Harrison? What are you talking about?
Yeah. Well, it's something where I took over a team.
3.1 rookie pick for Marvin Harrison. What are you talking about? This is nonsense right now. This is not real.
Oh, no. I just took over the team.
I know, but you can't. No offense, Brucey. You can't possibly think you're getting Marvin Harrison using a 3.1 rookie pick. You can't possibly think you're getting Marvin Harrison Jr. using a 1.11 rookie pick.
I was just offered. This is what the guy sent me.
He offered you Marvin Harrison Jr. or he offered you the rookie pick.
He offered me Marvin Harrison.
And you haven't accepted that. And you haven't accepted Marvin Harrison Jr. for a 3.1. Can you accept it now?
I can accept it now.
Okay,
yeah.
So can you do that for me?
Yeah.
What are we doing, Bruce? Have I not trained you?
I haven't really. You've trained me. It's just that this is my first time in Dynasty.
Okay, well, let me give you some advice. 3.1 is, we're talking about that being a pretty ridiculously bad shot in the dark. Like this isn't even like you're taking the last of the top 5 running. You're talking about you're taking a stab at someone that might not even play football in 2025, Brucey. I don't know. I don't know if they maybe set you something else, but
I don't know. The guy said he's like, since you said you would do it for us, he says, he's going to do something nice for you, like generous.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Well,
and then that's what I got as the trade offer, which I didn't know if it was, hey, this is what he meant by being generous to you, or you know what I mean?
Yeah. All right, Bruce. Anything else, bro? Go make that trade. Congrats on it.
Oh, thank you.
Can you tell me when it's done real quick? Tell me when it's done. You got to hit the... Bruce, you can't sit around on this. You can't even... Why are you even talking to me? Accept the trade, then come back. Like, you're wasting time.
Right.
This is win a league material right here. This is veto type stuff, though. If there's vetoing in your league, it's getting vetoed.
Oh, no, there's no veto.
Okay, so hurry, Bruce.
I'm going to make the trade.
Run! Get out of here.
Finish him.
Like, I'm trying to process that question because I was doing 2 things at once, and he's like, okay, the 3.1. Like, this is why I'm going to do a series on this. Like, 1.1, 1.12.
Yep.
Where does the player... This is going to be a series on, I think, both the channels, but where do you place Marv in a rookie 2025 draft? And you'd have to say Genty is here. So this is Genty. I'd have to say, JSN is probably 1.2 or 1.3. I'd have to say Marvin Harrison Jr. is 1.2 or 1.3. He's giving up a third rounder. What are we doing back there, bro? What are we doing back there? All right, I got to go. I'll see you guys all at 8 p.m. Bruce, rock out. See you boys later.
All right, see you.
Later, man. Appreciate all my super chatters and everything. Thank you, Benji, for dropping that earlier. I'll be back. I'll be back at 8 p.m. per usual. Appreciate you all. I'm live 8 p.m. Eastern every single Monday through Friday. I'm also additionally live whenever we need to break down breaking news like this DK Metcalf situation. Appreciate you all. See you at 8 p.m. Don't forget to get on over and check out my thefantasyfootballshow.com, which I'm going to drop that link in the live chat right now. thefantasyfootballshow.com. It's pinned in the live chat. It's in the description of the video. I'll see you all at 8 p.m. Thank you, moderators.